So this is Kristina Barlaan, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, competitor, instructor under the great Caio Terra of San Jose in the California. And welcome. We were earlier being serenaded by you, your mastery on the guitar and beatbox. So
good to have you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thanks for being here. It's Tuesday night. We're rocking out in Sunnyvale, California. So what are you up to?
Just kind of grinding right now. I mean, I'm injured right now, so I can't do too much training. Doing the most I can. I'm picking up my physical therapy a little bit more aggressively. I just got cleared to cycle and row, but still no jiu-jitsu, so that's really, really frustrating. And amidst all that, I'm trying to get myself as ready as possible to compete the Asian Championships in Japan next month with possibly the least amount of jiu-jitsu training I'll be able to get in.
Well, they say less is more, so that hopefully that applies to the black belt level adult 118-pound Asian Open or Asian Championships. That's a really big competition with a lot of people, a lot of really good black belts your size too.
Yeah, I mean, I've been wanting to do this tournament since I was a blue belt. And so it's been kind of on my jiu-jitsu bucket list. So the beginning of the year, that was Europeans. And so I got to check that off, and that was really, really exciting. I did all the fundraising to get out there. And same thing as a blue belt. When I found out about it, I was like, I want to make it to Europe. I want to go to Portugal. I want to compete at that tournament. And for whatever reason, I just couldn't make it, either injury or money or time or life, whatever. I just couldn't do it. And so my first full year as a black belt, I really wanted to commit to making all those tournaments happen that I didn't get to do when I was at the lower belts. And so I got my ticket to Japan before I got injured. And so now and then the injury happened. I'm like, well, that really sucks. Well, we'll see if I can be ready in time. But worst case scenario, at least I have a really nice vacation to Japan if I can't compete.
So this is in Tokyo?
Yes, it'll be in Tokyo.
Yeah, actually, one of our guys, Ant Doe from AKA Sunnyvale, he's actually doing a fight. It's his 5th pro fight, and it's going to be on UFC Fight Pass, and it's sometime in September. I might actually wind up flying out for it.
Yeah.
Haven't been to Tokyo before. Been to Singapore and Hong Kong, but Japan's been this thing. I want to go to Japan really badly. It seems like the quirkiest but coolest place on earth somehow. Like adult Disneyland with cooler lights and really cool cars and stuff. So this is it's I don't want to call it bucket list. So I feel like I'm old, but not that old. So
September 19th.
So September 19th that's the Asian Open, or
that's the Ant Doe's fight for Valley Tudo Japan.
Asian Open is going to be the 10th and 11th.
10th and 11th?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it's definitely, I mean, this will be my second time going to Japan, but my first time spending time in Tokyo. The first time I went to Japan was to visit my brother because he was living there teaching English, but he lived out way out in the countryside. It's 2 hours away from Tokyo. And so my experience of Japan wasn't bright lights, fast cars. It was quiet ginger farm with people who've never seen people like me.
Okay.
They're either really, really young or really, really old. And anyone who is remotely close to my age, they have their families and, or they've moved away to, to the bigger cities to either pursue going to school or career or whatever. But for the most part, I stood out like a sore thumb, pretty much.
Okay, yeah, I would suppose there'd be even a stark contrast between, I guess, the people in the rural Japan area where you're describing in Tokyo itself, because you have very independent women in Tokyo where, a lot of them aren't getting married so young anymore at all.
Yeah.
So I can imagine that's a pretty big contrast. And then you're out there, you're like this jiu-jitsu competitor and you're doing your thing, and that you probably have farmers and stuff.
Yeah, well, it was funny because at that time I was still only a white belt and I was more into Muay Thai. I think I was getting ready for an amateur fight around that time. So, I brought my gi with me, but I didn't get to use it at all. But my focus was really more Muay Thai, but jiu-jitsu was already kind of I was already bit, man, I want to do more jiu-jitsu. The number one, for the most part, everyone knew I was the English teacher's sister. So everyone's like, oh, well, she's different, so that means she's got to relate to the other person in here in this town that's different. Going to the onsen, which is like the community bathhouse. I have tattoos, so they've never seen tattoos before, but so like having like a little girl, like she looked like 3 or 4, and she's touching my tattoo.
Oh wow.
And I'm like, this is really awkward.
So were there actually any places where you weren't allowed because of the tattoos? Or?
No. I mean, at that time the tattoo was just on my ribs, so for as long as I had a t-shirt on, you couldn't see it. And the other one that's on my neck, on the back of my neck, same thing. My hair was long, so you couldn't see it for the most part. I mean, so for as long as I had my clothes on, I'd be okay.
Okay, well, yeah, of course, as long as you have your clothes on. so
not a streaker.
No. Well, not in Japan. You probably want to obey some laws,
Well,
the forearm's newer than the trip then? Okay.
Yeah, I got this after I got my black belt. I promised myself that when I got my black belt in jiu-jitsu, that's when I would get myself a jiu-jitsu tattoo. So this is kind of like my gift to myself. So this is about it's almost like a year old. It'll be a year old in October. So
and did you go to like a cool jiu-jitsu place to get it, like Seven Sun or something, or?
So it was my teammate actually. So he's a blue belt. His name's Matt Tillman on Hold Fast Studios. Oh, I put a sticker over it. No. Hold Fast Studios in Redwood City. You can kind of see it.
All right.
So Matthew Tillman. So he's my teammate. He does really, really awesome work. And so he's kind of like the jiu-jitsu tattoo artist for our team, and a lot of other people who are like friends of the team. We always refer him. Like all his. At one point, all of his kids trained jiu-jitsu. So now it's just his son and his eldest daughter. The younger daughter, she stopped doing it after a while. I think she got a little bit more into like gymnastics or stuff. But his son and his eldest daughter still do it. So that's really, really cool. Like they're just an awesome family.
So I'm guessing he does a lot of belt tattoos, a lot of octopus, like octopi.
Yeah.
Is it octopi? Is that correct?
Octopi.
Octopi.
Yeah. But he does a bunch of other stuff too. So like he's really, really versatile in what he does. But depending on who he's tattooing is pretty much what the person wants. But I don't know, like a lot of koi, a lot of like Asian style work or tattoo.
So I have this concept that I want to do an actual like quarter sleeve or just like a chest or back piece into a quarter sleeve. Like I want to do something comic book related, but I don't want that style necessarily. Like I want the color and everything, like, deep lines and everything.
Yeah.
But I kind of want to do like, like the Blackest Night, like that lantern crossover thing with like the different color lanterns, but adapted to like feudal Japan, so like different color samurais and stuff, and like
cool.
or like fire and water and rage and whatever. And I don't know how to really express that, so like trying to find an artist that gets what I'm trying to talk about without being like that's really abstract, or because you can show a bunch of characters and like you're like, all right, that's gonna be like 10 grand by the time I'm done, but because you need an artist to actually have the vision. And super particular about stuff, but maybe I just need to not be a control freak and be like, just write something, just do something.
Well, you don't want to just say just do something. That's like the worst thing you could ever say to any artist, like coming from someone who has also taken people like, oh, can you design something? What do you want? Oh, I don't know, make something cool.
Yeah.
What does that even mean?
Yeah.
Like what's cool to me might not necessarily be cool for you, so I make whatever I think is cool, and then they look at that like, yeah, can you make something not that?
yeah, that wasn't what I was thinking at all. I'd be like, well, you didn't do a very good job expressing that.
So usually the more details and more specific of what you want, it makes it easier for the artist to create what it is, and get closer to what you like envisioning.
I feel like I have a bunch of friends that are really into this stuff, and they seem to think going to like a tattoo convention, just seeing every different style and getting an idea like what you want, because you're going to be spending a lot of time with an artist if you're serious about a piece. So I feel like I should probably just go to the Cow Palace and like check out one of these, the shows or whatever.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, you go into a studio and I don't know. I want to make sure I'm at least in the ballpark of the type of art that I want to get done. Because if I want to get something Japanese style and they're like a new school artist, I don't want to kind of waste their time, and I don't want them to have to adapt to something. If they don't want to do it, if it's no fun for them, it's not going to be their best work.
Yeah, it's kind of like asking a high level, like competitive jiu-jitsu black belt and asking them, I want to do private with just self-defense.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, they'll be able to do it, but is that what that person's gonna be passionate about? Like, I'll be honest, like if when I have students, I don't expect everyone to compete, but competing is what I really have fun doing. So I like when I have students who want to compete. If you told me that, like, if you got paid like $1 million each month but all your students just want to learn self-defense, I would be miserable. Miserable. I don't care how much money I get paid. I wouldn't be getting to teach what I want to teach, what I'm passionate about.
No, it makes total sense. I mean, you should do what you love doing, right? If you don't have passion for it, I mean, the money's going to be great, but you're going to want to use that to be able to enable yourself to actually do the thing that you love doing.
Yeah.
So that's why I do this. That's why I train. I go and do other stuff so I can afford to do this, because ultimately, like most people, like you only get 24 hours a day. You sell 8 so you can pay for the other whatever 2/3 of that, other 12. And I just got the math all fucked up on that. And anyway, it's been a long ass day. So then you're sleeping the other 8, hopefully, and then you get 8 hours of free time left. You get 8 hours left where you actually get to do what you want with it. And but if you love what you do, then you get that time back. And it's like, it's all about quality of life. Like, how are you spending the time?
Oh, yeah. That's essentially what I do. If I take the injury out of the equation, like my normal day is like, you wake up, do like, if you already did like the meal prep already ahead of time, then you got that. And I do the hour drive to San Jose, and then I'm at the gym all day. It's, back to back, training, teaching, training again, strength and conditioning, all of that. And then to save money so that I don't have to drive another whole hour home, I'm going to drive 30 minutes or something to Hayward to my student's house, and I'll sleep on their couch.
Oh, cool.
So I for the most part during a week, maybe I'll get to sleep in my own bed maybe 2 or 3 nights out of the week. And for all the other nights, I'm sleeping on somebody else's couch. I barely see my family. I barely get to eat with them. I'm spending more time with my jiu-jitsu family or my students' family, and going back and forth from the gym to another gym to that couch to another gym to another gym back to the couch, and then and maybe I'll get 6 hours. 6 hours is pretty good, but then depending on when I have to get up the next day, if I have to teach a private, if now and then we get to the weekends, do I get to even have weekends, or am I going to be traveling to referee? Am I traveling to compete and referee, which is usually what happens, unless it's like Worlds or Pans, in which it's only competing. But all the other ones, whatever tournament I'm at, I'm for the most part pulling double duty, and then and then all that traveling, and then at the end of the day, it's like, okay, just keep going, book seminars, book privates, book more classes, and it's like, man, when do you get to rest? Like, when I'm dead, I guess. But I'm really happy what I'm doing. I'd rather be doing that, grinding and just being tired doing what I'm passionate about, than doing the 9 to 5, because I did that and I wasn't happy.
Yeah, it's not much fun. Not many people enjoy it very much, and it's necessity. But I think, in general, well, first of all, a lot of people don't have something in their life that they're this passionate about. They just don't have it. And the ones that do, being able to make the time and really believing in yourself and saying, I'm going to do this can work. I can do this. It's not everybody has that, or they don't have the belief in themselves, or they don't have the flexibility in their own lives to be able to make it happen. So, it's a really good thing. You've kind of created this sort of world that you want to live in that makes you happy. So I can imagine the knee thing right now is killing you, right?
Oh, yeah.
So you're vicariously living through your students, through you're teaching the privates, you're training, all this stuff. But so, what's the prognosis? Like, what's the ETA to actually be on the mat and doing stuff?
When I first spoke with the orthopedist, they were saying 3 to 4 months, just to have mobility back and have the pain go away and the swelling go away. And so far it's been 7 weeks since I've injured it, and I can pretty much for the most part get down to full squat now.
Okay.
But it's still pretty painful in the knee. I'm not confident enough at all to do jiu-jitsu. I mean, other than teaching. So the orthopedist actually wants to avoid surgery. He wants me to do as much physical therapy and rehabilitation as possible. Hopefully the PCL will scar in, so that it'll kind of scar to reattach itself, and then The rehabilitative exercises will strengthen the quad muscles to help support the knee, support the joint. And that's what they want. Now, if that doesn't happen, and we're looking again 4 months down the road, and I think that's more for like an average person who doesn't have as much exercise or isn't very active.
Yeah.
So my body heals a lot faster just because I have normal blood flow all the time. My body's used to that. So,
Sure.
Almost 2 months in, and I'm already able to do the things I'm able to do, which is pretty good. If all that just doesn't work, then I might have to have surgery. So the idea of surgery is still dangling there. I'm really hoping that I don't have to. I'm really just going to be hard-headed about committing to the physical therapy and do it religiously as much as possible, and just treat it the same way I would treat training.
Sure.
So, I mean, that's all I can do.
Honestly, most people don't do the work in PT. They half-ass. Well, they get the exercises, they don't do them. It's like you see somebody that has a rotator cuff tear, you see them go to the gym once, they do the thing with the band like one time, and they never do it again, and they wonder why their shoulder's screwed up for life.
Yeah.
So yeah, just it's a good lesson to people out there. When the doctor says do the PT, and yeah, avoid surgery. Surgery sucks.
Yeah, this is the first time that I was injured badly enough where surgery had to been an option, is an option that's actually on the table. All my other injuries that were, fairly, bad, like enough to keep me out for weeks apart, and like whether like whiplash or IT band syndrome or my shoulder, all were able to be fixed with just proper PT, proper physical therapy. That means all the rehabilitative things you can do, having access to a good chiropractor, having access to a good massage therapist, having access to a very good physical therapist, not just doing the exercises, but being able to actually manipulate, knowing how to use a TENS unit, ultrasound.
Oh, yeah.
When I was living in Arizona, I had a teammate who was my physical therapist, doctor of physical therapy, and she knew how to do dry needling, she knew how to do cupping, all that stuff, and for the most part, I was her guinea pig. Dr. Jenny Larson's really awesome because she was also purple belt. Oh, she's a brown belt now. But at the time she was a blue purple belt, and we started working with each other. So it was a lot of exchanging of, hey, you get free privates, get to train for free, get to compete for free, like whatever you want for free with jiu-jitsu wise, and then you should just treat me for free. And then I would hang out in her office a lot and just learn, kind of like not like an apprentice, but kind of like self-named apprentice, because I liked helping her out as much as I could. She helps me, so I want to help her. And I learned a lot. And anytime that she wanted to try a new technique or new method for therapy, you're like, hey, Kristina, you want to try this out? Sure. She would put like dry needles in like my leg or my neck or my back or my hand, and then attach it to like a TENS unit.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's like, really, really get like the circulation going. Yeah. When she first approached the idea, I was kind of like, so is it like Taken where you put the nail and you attach it to a car battery? And she's like, no.
Not quite. It's like the junior version of that. It's slightly toned down. So
this is the PG version, the Disney version.
Disney version, okay. So I've had acupuncture done where they hooked it up to electricity before. I didn't see if it was a TENS unit or not, but yeah. I have one too. I love those. I love my TENS unit.
Yeah.
I've hurt everything ever probably, and it's come in handy. I think insurance paid for it years ago.
Oh, awesome. Yeah,
I'm stoked. They still send the little pad things in the mail, the little sticky pads.
Yeah.
So I still get like new ones however often they send them. Like I got a collection now because I really don't use it that much, but it comes in handy.
Oh yeah, I mean, people really, really underestimate physical therapy, I think. I mean, again, it's just about being vigilant and about not being lazy. If you want to get better, sitting around and complaining is not going to do anything, and trying to rush getting back onto the mat or getting back into training is not going to do anything either. You just really got to take your time. I mean, last year I dislocated my elbow. It was my first time competing as a black belt, and I dislocated my elbow, and I was out for 6 weeks, I believe, and I regained full mobility of my arm. Like they all go backwards. I don't know if you can see that.
Oh wow.
Yeah, like
been armbarred a few times.
No, it's just all my joints go backwards. Like even like my thumbs, they
lucky
that, and they all. Oh, and I don't know. You won't be able to see it on video, but my toes bend back all the way, and it's kind of gross, but it's kind of cool. But they bend all the way back and touch the
That just happened.
Like, I don't want to see it.
So you didn't want to see it.
Yeah. So I can do stuff like that. So I'm really hypermobile.
Can you roll your knuckles?
I don't think I've ever tried that.
I don't know why I know that I can do that.
But I mean, the thumb will fold all the way.
Wow. You don't get wrist locked, huh?
No, it's possible to wrist lock me. You just have to find the right angle. In any case, I was really afraid that I wasn't going to get full mobility back with my arm. When I straightened it, if I do this, it looks straight, but that feels bent to me. That was what would feel straight. So I'd never rushed, if I tried doing, like, same example. I remember going to my best friend's stripe promotion. It was like he was getting his first degree on his black belt, Brian Pangelinan. And his professor, Carlos Apau, he was showing some stuff from half guard. I was like, oh, well, maybe I can try this out. And as soon as I tried framing and I felt the pain in my elbow like it was going to explode, I'm like, oh, no, arm is not ready, so definitely not going to try it. And I'm like, man, this is so frustrating. But I just really, I'm like every single night, like at least twice a day, like massaging into the muscle, even though it was really painful, like really digging in to all the different parts to make sure that the scar tissue didn't build up, making sure I'm pushing out all the inflammation, ice cupping, so ice massaging instead of putting an ice pack, and doing everything you possibly do. Like this hand was like so like achy afterwards just for doing the massages, and 100% recovery, and I'm again really lucky with that because I was just very diligent. I was just very like on it. Like I want to have a full recovery. I want to have a strong arm. This is what I have to do. So if you are injured, that's what you have to. You have to treat it like your job.
Oh, for sure.
Like there's no way around it. You don't want to come back, have this injury, think that you're going to compete at 100% when you're only doing not even 50% of the work that needs to be done to get back to 100,
Well, it exactly is your job. I mean, you're going to be competing within the month. I mean, from 1 month from now in Japan, you got to fly out there. So, I mean, you've been doing all the exercises in terms of doing the PT stuff. You're obviously doing some kind of cardio. You're out there. When you're actually working with your students, are you doing any mat work at all with them? I mean, demonstrating techniques or?
Yep, demonstrating techniques for sure. The only thing I can't do right now is roll.
Okay.
So if a position doesn't feel right, then I have to ask one of the students to have them demonstrate it. For the most part, I can do everything on my own though. If it feels weird, then I kind of just halfway go through it. And then sometimes I'll be like, use your imagination here. But I usually don't have to do that unless it's a super beginner class. And for the most part, I don't have to do that too often. And it's a lot easier for me to correct it later on, So if I see that's wrong, then I can go ahead and correct it. But yeah, that's the only thing I can't really do right now is just train. I mean, I could possibly try drilling for as long as depending on the position and what I can do, and I'd only be able to do it on one side. But same example, I can't play deli heave or like with this leg yet. I'm not gonna be trying to put any weight on it. I'm not trying to have it framed. I really, but I can close my guard. And I can put the foot on the hip.
So you're right-handed, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so when I tore my MCL, what wound up happening is I used to knee slide pass all the time. I played top game because I was like 215 or 210 at the time, so of course. But what it forced me to do by having a torn MCL, I just wanted to train. So as soon as it was like basically ready, but not quite ready, I started like really developing a De La Riva guard on my left side because it was the other knee, and the right leg, the one that was actually hurt, that was kind of the jab, like that was the spider guard, like I would just have it in the bicep. I'd play, because it wasn't ever bending really, so I would check the far bicep, I would check the inside thigh, I would check the hip, but the only good leg I had, that would be the De La Riva hook. So I was able to do some stuff because the leg never really bent, and we would just flow roll and drill. But I feel like the MCL, like, you can have a minor tear and they heal a little bit quicker. PCL is a little bit more major, and you don't hear the tear. You don't hear of those. Like, I'm trying to think of what sports where those injuries are most common.
Football.
Oh, because you get clipped.
Yeah, football, rugby, anything again where the knee goes to a 90-degree angle and then direct impact to the front of the knee. Car accidents are another one where it's common, where you're sitting and then the knee goes into the dash.
Oh, right,
yeah.
right.
So you're talking about direct impact, and it has to be a very, very strong impact to the front of the knee to get to the PCL. So that's usually what happens. So, like, say that we look at the knee, and then these are like the joints right here, and it moves back, and that's where the rip, that's where the tear will happen. So that's why it's so weird with the position with my leg, because It was more, like this position here, and there's no how do you get to the PCL from there, so again, like they were thinking that maybe the injury was going to be LCL or
Sure.
lateral meniscus because of the position of the leg being this way, but yeah, the injury is back here, well, on this leg though.
Yeah, you don't want to demonstrate it. Well, you probably,
I could, I can do that.
Maybe
but,
if you don't want to.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna bend it this way, no, for sure.
Just sort of cringing, just thinking about it. Wow. So you mentioned earlier you've been refereeing for a while now, and so as a woman, as a referee at black belt level, what is the experience that you've had so far? Have you had any kind of weird experience, any kind of macho crap? Like, all right. So little background, and I want at least one good story, please.
Oh my God. Oh, well, some of the stories are very like, you have athletes who just don't know any better.
Sure.
And they'll fight with you. And this could happen to any referee, where I've had one where it was like it was a white belt match over the Vegas International Open.
Okay.
And the guys are going at it. Guy catches the guy at the armbar. The guy who got armbarred, says like he's wearing a cup. And, you're not allowed to wear a cup in jiu-jitsu matches, right? And so I have to ask the guy, like, excuse me, sir, are you wearing a cup? And he goes like, fuck yeah, I'm wearing a cup. Knocks on his he's like, knocks on it.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh man, I'm really sorry about this. I'm like, you're here, DQ. He's like, what? I'm like, you're not allowed to wear a cup. It was like, I didn't know. I'm like, I'm really sorry, and you have like that, you have some people who don't know the rules at all and they try to fight with you. I think for the most part here on the West Coast, it's pretty, for the most part, I don't have too many people complaining. In the beginning, I'd have a few here and there, especially when I was a brown belt. It would be a little easier to yell at a brown belt who's newer at refereeing and to kind of make things go your way. And for the most part, that whatever the coach is yelling at you is BS if after the fact they don't say anything about it.
Sure.
But sometimes they are just really like, so like you really don't know what you're talking about, and they just really want to defend their students, and it's like, okay, well, I can't do too much. But with my experience with refereeing on the East Coast, where not too many people know who I am, that's where I felt like the most amount of machismo. There's because I had guys who I'd referee for a match, and then they go, man, what kind of call was that? I'm like, well, these are the rules. He's like, man, I've been in this sport 20 years and I never see something like that. I'm like, and in my head I have to think, well, how long have you been a referee? Never? Oh, never? Shut up. And I have this, and this is an inner monologue. I'm saying, like, you might have spent 20 years as doing the sport in your black belt, multiple degree, whatever, and I can respect that. But until you are actually a referee, like, when was the last time you did an IBJJF rules course? When was the last time you were certified as a referee to do this job? Never. You can't talk, because you can't talk about knowing rules that you don't know, and really try to fight that what you're saying is right, and I get, again, at the end of the day, the coach's job is to fight for their student. But there are other times where it's just like, man, you don't need to be mean. Like, I've had guys at certain tournaments where they completely like, oh, I don't know if this is like your first time refereeing, or, if you're new to this, or if you're just nervous. It's okay if, make mistakes, but, you can't let your ego, totally talking down to me. I'm like, wow. And, in my head, I want to say, like, do you know who I am? and of course I know I don't have an ego that way in my head, but I'm just like, man, that's so condescending and so degrading, like, for you to talk to me that way, It
totally is. It's sad, but it's to be expected, especially in in the sport. It's there's a lot of that going around. There's a lot of machismo. Clearly, we're putting on pajamas and wrestling. Why wouldn't there be machismo, right? Yeah. No, it's the IBJJF rule book changes every year.
Yeah.
And sometimes it can be pretty drastic in terms of what is a penalty, for the double guard pull stuff. I'm pretty sure like 10 out of 10 black belts won't be able to just like tell you exactly how that works. When are penalties, like what's a serious penalty and all this. I mean, there's new rules every year. What is it? If somebody has a single, that sweep that comes from there, like at white belt, with on the head out single leg, that's a whole thing now.
Yep.
That I couldn't, because it's different for different ages, right?
Different belt levels. So it's like for the kids and for all white belts. Doesn't matter what age, just all white belts.
So if somebody goes for a single with the head on the outside and you get that rodeo grip on the belt and kind of kick back,
stop.
So is it a DQ?
No, not for white belts. And for kids, you stop, you reset them, and then there's no penalty. You just let it keep going. Yeah, you just fix it.
And for adults,
you just let it keep going.
It's fine.
You have to look for what now we've had fights about this when we have the rule seminars, and depending on which seminar you go to and who you're talking to is what they're going to say, how it's going to be defined. For as long as it looks like they're elevating to counter takedown, right, with the sumigaeshi, right?
Sure.
Then that's legal. That's fine. It's a counter, right? Now, if they actually project their head towards the mat, like, because in order to sweep, you can't just sit and pull their head to mat.
Sure.
That means you're just trying to pull them down.
You just DDT them. You're trying to knock them out head first on the
mat. Then
it's
a disqualification.
Sure.
So it's pretty much it's either nothing or it's DQ.
Okay.
For blue belt and up.
So intent and direction, right?
Yeah. So essentially, if you want to sweep someone, you have to elevate, you have to get under, and their head doesn't go to the mat. Maybe it might skim a little, but they have to do a forward roll. But you can tell when someone is trying to project their head to the mat, and when they're trying to lift. This is what we have to look for, and that's why it, depending on the referee and how they see it, is what the call is going to be.
So just as easily though, the guy on the being swept could theoretically sort of fake that and just get the DQ. They could just go straight down. They could defend.
I don't think I've ever seen someone try to purposely face dive.
Well, you can protect yourself, right?
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm like, hey, I'm gonna just my head straight into the mat. I've never seen it, and so I guess it would really just depend on how the referee saw it. Again, you can't just get into that position without one motion coming in from another.
Sure.
Like it kind of can't. The person being thrown, a person being countered, can't throw themselves in that direction because they have the leg in the way.
Sure,
right?
Yeah.
So it'd be very hard for them to do that, anyways. I would think.
You have 1 foot and hypothetically 2 posts. So, well, if you based out and you maybe. You'd have to really be cheating on purpose, though.
Yeah, and so I think that position would be kind of hard to, I think. I don't know. Until I see it, I guess I really can't say, but I don't think I've ever seen anyone intentionally try to spike their head,
Yeah, I mean, I could see you going straight, not doing the head dive thing, but just sort of like kind of basing out like 3 posts and then go down that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you spike your head on the mat just to get a DQ win, like... It's like I've heard stories. I've never seen a video of this or anything where people would be an ankle lock scenario where like they'll put the foot across and be like, look, there's reefing. Like, oh my God.
And so that's like that. And I think that's one of the things I like that they've improved on with the knee reaping is that, you can see like the intent of who's attacking and who's defending.
Sure.
And now you can actually properly penalize the person who's trying to, if I'm trying to force you to reap me and you're attacking my foot, then, I can be penalized or I can be disqualified for that even, depending on the severity, or even, say, example, if I'm trying to finish a footlock on the right side, I'm going towards the leg that's being attacked and you defending purposely try to go in the opposite direction, like, one, I can't disqualify. Like, I can't be disqualified because I purposely am trying to go to the right direction to finish.
Okay.
And you're bringing yourself to the direction that's going to be putting your knee in danger.
But do you have to let go?
I don't.
So
I don't have to let go because my from the beginning, my motion was to finish on the correct side. So I can keep holding onto the footlock for as long as like I started going to the correct side. If you go to the wrong, you start purposely trying to escape to the side that will put your knee in danger and I finish, I get the finish.
Okay, you still win.
Yeah.
Even if they were heel hooked because of their own actions.
Well, not heel hook, but like
well, it would be
their
it would,
knee.
it would
Yeah.
be the pressure.
Yeah.
It would be the reaping pressure, like the same as sort of.
Yeah. For as long as the motion was like, you can see that the person attacking is going to the side of the leg that they are attacking. The person defending then tries to go the other way. And this is again where the referees have to be very they have to be paying attention. They have to be very focused, and they have to see all these things. They can't just see the end position. They have to see where it started.
Okay. So
that's another thing that people don't realize is, they say, oh, what about, such and such position? Like, well, how did they get there? Who was on bottom, who was on top, who initiated. So that's where a lot of the confusion gets, especially you have people who have the same colored gi. Sometimes the belt comes off. Sometimes you have competitors who look exactly the same. I've had kids matches where they were both wearing black gis. They're both orange belts. Both tan skin, both black hair and short cut, like both same haircut. And it's like the only thing that was different was their patches, and both their patches, like for their team patches, like one's like yellow red, and another one's also got a little bit of red and yellow. It's like you had like these doppelgangers, and it's really difficult sometimes to see, especially when you have the scrambles, particularly with kids. And at the end of the day, it's like, man, we're really, really trying our best to. You're not trying to screw anybody over. At least I can say it on my behalf. I never want to screw anybody over, but there are times where it's just like there's a big mess of things going on, and it's hard to find like where the positions start, who was where, and who gets what.
Well, yeah, tan skin with the short haircut with a blue gi. You describe 80% of jiu-jitsu people.
Exactly
ever.
Right.
We all look the same on the mat. We all look exactly the same on the mat. Like, even though in person with, we're obviously very different people on the mat. If you look from across the world, we all pretty much look the same.
Yeah.
It's just a mess of gis and sweat and hair women's hair is all pulled back. Guys all have my same haircut or less.
Yeah.
It's I can imagine it's really difficult to.
Yeah.
So, any really ridiculously offensive, if you had one that just sticks out.
I had one where I don't want to say who it was, but he's a very well-established black belt in the Bay Area, and it was a ref's decision for the Santa Cruz BJJ Pro. So IBJJF came for the Santa Cruz Pro, and it was in the blue belt division for the prize money or whatever. And I raised the hand of the other guy, not the black belt student, and he said, you stupid bitch.
Wow.
Really, really loud, really loud. And I kind of looked over and like, wow.
Did you DQ him after that, or?
Well, it was the coach that said it. I can't DQ the student. The student didn't do anything wrong. It was the coach. And what sucked most about that is man, this is someone who I really respect, and I, for all reasons would look up to him, and it's man, that really sucks. And again, in my head, I'm thinking, oh, he's just angry, whatever, but it's that's not acceptable.
No.
So, of course, then I have to talk with them, with the head referee, see if there'd be probation or whatever, essentially he didn't apologize to me. He apologized to somebody else to apologize to me, which is, that happens, I guess. And, he was like, oh yeah, I was just so angry, but she's and still trying to justify the name calling. And I've had some of his students contact me I'm really, really sorry that, my coach did that to you. There's no excuse for it, but I want you to know that that's not a reflection of his true character. I'm like, whatever, I'm just kind of move away from that. And it's you never think that's gonna happen to you, and it has happened. And I've had really well-known black belts yell at me a certain way, and it's kind of man, you don't have to be mean. You don't have to. And I get that. The person that you are very invested with the person that's on this mat, but you don't have to, name call, and you don't have to start try to take like jabs at me personally, like, oh, like the reason why you made that call was because you play this type of game and you're more biased to that kind of, like, I'm like, God, like, man, you really can't see that, and at the end of the day, like, again, when they apologize, it's not a real apology. It's like, I just, I went out of my way to apologize, not to this one, but this is another one when I first started refereeing, and I went out of my way to make it a point. It's like, hey, I want you to know that I am refereeing the best of my ability. I'm not trying to be biased. I am really doing my best to uphold the rules and how I see it's supposed to be done. And I want you to know that there's no hard feelings. I have nothing against you. I have nothing against your students or anything. And he's like, oh yeah, I'm sorry. It's just, I'm not mad at you. I'm mad at, they don't train you guys enough, or they don't have, like, same thing, diverting. It's like, man, can you just say I'm sorry? Or can you just say, like, hey, I shouldn't have acted that way? I'm thinking with this particular black belt, and I'm sitting there with, like, oh my God, is he gonna hop this fence?
Oh wow.
Because he's so angry. I'm like, man, please don't. You play like the scenarios in your head. Of course he didn't, but you get all sorts of scenarios in your head where, because you've seen it happen at other tournaments. You're like, is it gonna happen here? Is this the day that I get into a fight with someone?
Wow.
in the audience, or out in the crowd, and and then you just have again people who are disrespectful. Not even, like, I had one where he was trying to say that I was biased because his student had lost to a girl who she had an amputated leg.
Okay.
So she only had half a leg. And he was mad that I didn't give any advantages or anything to his student for almost passing the guard. And I'm like, well, she never cleared the leg. She never cleared it. And she's like, oh, like, you're just being biased because she only has half a leg, and you're pitying her, and you're robbing my student. And I'm like, but she never passed the guard. Like, you're trying to justify why your student lost, but there's no time that she ever got past the leg, and then just being mean about it, like saying, like, oh, how is she supposed to pass it if it's this short, like, yeah, saying mean things. I'm like, yeah, I'm like, man, like, you just need to stop. Yeah. And eventually it's like, and then at the end of the day, all I can say is, like, if you have a problem with me, if you really feel like I did something wrong, please talk to the head referee and they can communicate that to me. I have to get to the next match. For the most part, I can stay pretty level-headed, and as of lately, I haven't had anybody be outwardly very disrespectful to me. For the most part, if anyone has a problem, they ask, hey, can you please explain this call, that call? Majority of that's going to happen with the kids, particularly. You have really, really overzealous parents. The coaches are more passionate. Like, if you think, like, how they are with, like, their top students, you should see how they are with their kid, like, with their kid students. It's like another level. At the end of the day, they want to protect the kids. They want to make sure that they're safe. At the same time, they also understand, like, well, we invest on this tournament. We don't want to be robbed, and I get it. And then if they talk to me calmly, then I can talk to them calmly back. But if you're being belligerent and you're just being mean and you just want to yell and not listen, then I say I have to pass you on to the head ref.
Well, I mean, even after the fact, so you have a situation where they complain about a decision or complain about the result of a match. Are there ever situations where the decision gets altered after the fact? Are there ever reversals, for example?
I've never had it happen.
Okay.
But I have seen it in other cases. Other people, like, witnessing other matches where a call was made. Say, example, this was, I can't remember what world it was, but Marcia Andre's girlfriend, when she was still a blue belt in the juvenile division, and she finished a footlock, which is completely legal. Sure. At a juvenile level, she's a blue belt, juvenile, straight footlock. She finished the girl, and they were trying to DQ her because the referee, I guess, forgot about the fact that juvenile blue belts can do straight footlocks. Okay. And so it's impossible for you to be disqualified for something that is legal. It makes sense. So if it's legal, you can't be disqualified. So he disqualified her. She stayed on the mat. They went back. They reviewed, and then they overturned it.
So what actually wound up happening? Did they restart it or?
No, the girl tapped to the footlock.
Okay.
Yeah, so instead of disqualifying her, they gave her the win.
Yeah,
which is completely right, and and you have situations like that. But in other cases where there was a really bad mistake, for the most part, you can't do anything about it.
Yeah, that's the one thing I was wondering about. So first of all, it's clear you're really passionate, and what I can see pretty much unbiased. Like, there's really not a lot of room for bias in jiu-jitsu anyway. Like, for the majority of it, there's not really money on the table. There's always more tournaments. People obviously train very, very hard, and a lot of people, this is their whole life. But it's not that hard to be nice.
Yeah.
It's not that hard to not treat people that way. Just don't be a jerk. It's not that hard. I don't
know. I'm like a really, really nice girl. And it's like, if you ask anybody who knows me and my friends, like, I don't have a mean bone in my body. It's impossible for me to be a mean girl. Like, even if I try to say something jokingly mean, it's like, I just can't. I'm not like that person. I'm not that person at all. If there is any one bias I can say I have, it'd be if I end up having to referee my own teammates, in which case I'm harder on my teammates than I am. And to a point where it's just like, I would just prefer not to. Like, for the most part, if they're the teammate that I train with, I don't referee them at all. If I teach them, I don't referee them. But if they're affiliate, they're fair game. I would really prefer not to, because at the end of the day, even when they're affiliate, I still have my professor yelling at me, and it's just not it's not a good situation for either one. And I've had problems with that before in the past, because it's like I see things one way, and and I don't, especially if it's like a ref's decision, and I've always just kind of come up thinking, like, I really don't want anyone thinking that I'm being biased towards like my own teammates. So like when it's like a really, really close call, I have been known to give to the other person that was not my teammate, and all based on exactly what I saw. This person just did a little bit more, but it's very, very close. And so it's like, what can I do? And I had like one really, really bad instance with that. It's just like, man, I really just don't want to referee anyone who's somewhat even affiliated with me. I don't want to.
Sure.
I always try to pass it off to like the other referee if I can, or I switch with someone else, like if it's all possible. Especially if I see that my professors are going to be coaching. It's like, I don't want to be part of this. I don't,
Yeah.
And that was it. Because we've all been screwed over by refs. I know I have been. I've definitely been on the wrong side of someone else's bias, and they want to help their team out. It's like, whatever, it sucks, but it's like, I can't train for the referee. I can only train for my opponent. I can train for myself. Again, I've been doing the rules seminar since 2009, since I was a blue belt. Every year I did it, and then once I started refereeing, I pretty much go to rules seminar at least. When I first started refereeing, I was going to I think I went to maybe like 4 or 5 rule seminars that year, and then after that I'm going to at least 2 or 3 rules meetings a year. So I take it very seriously, and I don't think there's too many people who do it to that level, because not only am I doing the rules seminars, but I get to apply it. I get to teach that to my students, because I am an active competitor. That was one of the reasons why I started going to rule seminars as a blue belt, because I'm an active competitor. How am I going to play in a sport where I don't know the rules? In any sport, this example said a lot that jiu-jitsu is the one sport where the players don't know the rules. They don't, and then they kind of go in and they throw a fest, like, why is it like this? Like the most common ones, like, where's the sweep points? I'm like, what sweep? He started from mount. He started from side control. There's no sweep.
That's a reversal, sir.
Yeah.
Excuse
like,
us.
there's no 2 points now. Yeah.
So to a lot of people, this sort of thing's a job, but to you, like, this is stuff you legitimately enjoy. So
Yeah.
I would say, like, what are your hobbies? What are you into besides this? We talked a little bit about your art. You're sort of you got the comic book thing, you got the anime thing. So is that the bulk of what you're into? Is that are those your hobbies, or is your job sort of your hobby itself?
Well, I just like really being active. I've been dancing since I was 5, And I've just in general been in performing arts since I was 5. So playing the piano, playing the guitar, singing, painting. I was in art school for a year. I'm an art school dropout. I just
Were you the San Francisco?
Yeah, Academy of Arts University.
Okay.
Yeah. I was pursuing fine arts painting and I ended up dropping out. I really just couldn't keep up with the hours in the community because I was commuting from Martinez and having to take BART, and then sometimes I'd have like 40 pounds of like wet clay.
Oh my God.
Like going uphill like 4 blocks. I'm like, eventually I just, they broke me. It broke my will. I just couldn't keep up with it, and then eventually I went into vet tech school. So
Oh, very cool.
yeah, certified veterinary technician. I didn't do anything with it. As soon as that happened, I moved to Arizona and then pursued jiu-jitsu completely. And yeah, so hobbies wise, I mean, a lot of anime, playing the guitar. I love cooking. I love eating. I love eating and cooking. Anything to do with food, I love it for the most part.
Awesome.
Yeah, I don't look like I am, but I, for the most part, usually when I go to like buffets, like Korean barbecue, and Bryant, one of my best friends, he's like a 200 plus guy.
Okay.
And usually sometimes he'll have his friends come over for seminars, and they're also like, big heavyweight black belts.
Sure.
And they're like, oh yeah, she's the one that she eats us all under the table, like won't stop eating. Like, please make her stop. Make her stop. It hurts.
Yeah. For us, it's sunny. We always have the UFC fights over here, and so like the whole team comes over. We've had like more than 50 people in my living room. We put a second TV in the backyard. I think it was the Ronda Rousey one with Holly Holm, and then when Connor beat, or when Nate Diaz beat Connor, rather, I should say. And there are more than 50 people. We have 2 people on our team from Saipan, and so they grill, like it was those 2 and then another guy from Maui, and they would kind of have this big grill off.
Yeah,
So
that's the best.
oh my God, I ate so much, but no, Sonny's the guy that our Asian cameraman number 1. he goes off on that. Like, you have to kind of at the promotions 2 weeks ago, he stood in front of where the pokey was and just like had the bowl in his hand, to the point where like I didn't even get any. I always don't get food. Like I look, I'm clearly underfed. Such a bully. He's such a bully. He is a bully. It's all right. There's always the mat. There's always the mat.
Who's the black belt?
I'm always I'm emaciated. Yeah, but yeah, he goes. But yeah, we always wind up with a ton of food. So you say like Korean barbecue, is that your thing, food wise? Is that?
Oh man, no, it's like everything. I mean, if I had to say the one thing my parents really spoiled me with growing up, like we didn't get like all like the newest toys or fancy electronics, but we got a lot of experiences. So of course, getting the dance lessons, the music lessons, and then getting to eat food from all over the world.
Nice.
So, I mean, from a young age, I was eating Thai food, Japanese food, Italian, French, and not just, like takeout, but really, really, really good stuff. Like when I think sushi, I think nigiri, I like uni, I like sea urchin.
Cool.
I've been eating that since a kid. And I remember I went to a sushi place in Arizona, and I was like, oh my God, I love sushi. I'm like, oh great, I'm going to eat some sushi. And, everyone's getting like the Philadelphia rolls, California rolls, I'm the only one that orders real like nigiri. And they're like, what is that? I'm like, it's sushi? It's like, is that raw? I'm like, yes. Like, in my head I'm thinking like, isn't all sushi supposed to be raw? I don't understand.
I can't do the fake crab thing. I can't do California rolls. Like, it's too much rice. Just sashimi is fine for me. I like the hand rolls though.
Yeah, like the hand rolls like in the cones.
Those are great.
Yeah.
Those are great. I usually get sashimi. I like the ameibi with the head.
Ameibi, yeah.
I love that one.
Sweet shrimp is good.
And then uni is good if you trust the place.
Yeah, you definitely have to go to a high quality place. It should be firm and buttery, and it should be sweet with a little bit of a gamey taste.
Okay.
It shouldn't be bitter. It shouldn't be sour, and it shouldn't be bleh. Like it shouldn't just be like mucus, like what's that? You know what I'm talking about. Like it just should not. It should have a firmness to it. Has almost
runny.
even like a little bit of a crunch when you bite into
Okay.
it. and the sweetness is definitely what you're looking for a really, really good uni.
It's a good tip to not get very sick. So
Yeah.
it should not smell like the Bay Bridge at low tide.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it should not.
It should not. Okay.
Definitely, I think my standards before for like, is this place gonna be a good sushi place? I'll completely judge it on their uni. Like, how good is their uni? Everything else has definitely got to be good if their uni is good. You know.
Yeah, you can generally walk up to, if they have sort of the sushi bar right there, like when they're actually, you can just sort of just look at the fish and, oh, all right, we're good. All right, you got anything fried? not sure. I want to see their knife. Be like, all right, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
No, there's some good places in the Bay, and then off of like El Camino Real, and there's some just really not good places too. And
Yeah.
gotta be really careful. I got a very delicate stomach. So.
I don't think I have a delicate stomach. Pretty much I'll eat anything. But, I mean, my taste buds will be like, I can't eat any more of this, like, as much as I want to, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It just won't agree.
Yeah, you get yourself trained to sort of certain quality stuff. And then,
Yeah.
California rolls doesn't sound that
I mean, like,
appetizing.
again, if it's I'm not a food snob, you know, like, from I eat everything, like, oh my god, do you eat McDonald's? Like, if I'm hungry for it, if I have a craving for it, you know, I'm not gonna judge. I don't, like, my favorite fast food is Taco Bell.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, oh my god, I love the hell out of chalupas.
Really?
Yeah.
They stopped selling. I like the Santa Fe beef chalupa, and they stopped selling it years ago. I don't know why. Whenever they take a menu off the item at an item off the menu at Taco Bell, I'm very nervous. Like, I'm like, wait, what? Why am I? What is that going to kill me? Like, is there something in the Santa Fe chalupa? Because it had the corn and the beans and stuff, and it was really good.
I don't care. It's Taco Bay.
Taco Bay.
Taco Bay.
Oh wow.
I don't know. Like, ever since I was a little kid, I just always loved Taco Bell. And like, just, you know, weirdo.
Because for $10 you can get 10 pounds of food.
Oh yeah. I was totally like they had the grande meal, and it's like, oh, you get 10 tacos and 10 burritos. I'm like, that's all me.
Oh yeah, it's surprising how much Taco Bell you can actually kill in a sitting.
Oh yeah, and it's so cheap. Yeah, so don't judge me on my my love for Taco Bell. I was like, how can you love Taco Bell? It's not even real. I love real tacos too, though.
Sure.
I mean, I love real tacos, but I also love Taco Bell.
You just affirm that. Like I really believe you now. Like okay, that's that jujitsu love. Like, you're about to go off on tacos, like you just did about the rule seminar thing. We're like, all right, that's passion right there. All right, I believe you. Totally sold.
I will make anyone a believer about anything,
dude.
If I'm passionate about it enough, I can make someone a believer.
You're just a natural salesperson. Like, you have it in you to just be like, Taco Bell is the greatest food there is.
I don't sell. I just tell it how it is.
Oh, well, see, that's sales. That's sales. Like. Oh, no? Well, it's not no. It's no, you don't have enough information yet. Let me tell you about Taco Bell. So.
Tão natural quanto a luz do dia, mas que preguiça boa, me deixa aqui à toa. Hoje ninguém vai.